Hello everyone, Casey here, and welcome to my review for DayZ Standalone. No, you're not going insane, I've indeed done a review for DayZ Standalone once before. However, I feel that since the game is still in alpha and changes from time to time, adding new features and fixing bugs, that I should update my review on it, especially since some of my opinions have changed. So buckle in and let's once again take a look at DayZ Standalone for PC. So to start things off, I just want to say I'm going to pretend like this is my first time ever reviewing the game. While many would argue that reviewing a game before it's officially finished is in bad judgment and poor decision, but if I were to do that, it would more than likely be years before being able to do so. So alpha will just have to do for now. In DayZ, you play as a survivor living in a post-apocalyptic, zombie-infested world, where both the undead and the living pose very serious threats to your very existence. You start off practically naked, with nothing to your name but the clothes on your back, and a flashlight. You must search for food and water, bringing you into towns where the infected dwell. You need to find a way to defend yourself, whether it's from using a shovel, ice pick, handgun, or one of the many rifles or shotguns in the game. You also need to find better clothing, as many times in many servers in the world that you play in, they're very cold, which can cause hypothermia, so a jacket, gloves, hat, and nicer pants are all in order. Doing everything I just said can take a new player hours upon hours to complete. This gives the player objectives right from the get-go on what they need to accomplish, because at the end of the day, in DayZ, there is only one goal: survive. Of course, there is the secondary objective as well: be the best at surviving. That's it. Once you understand that, then you can embark on your journey of DayZ. If you haven't found out by now, DayZ is a very harsh world to try to live in. The player base is no exception. Sure, the zombies in the game can get the jump on you if you aren't very careful and could potentially kill you, but the real threat in DayZ is if you come across another player. The second I ever see someone else in the world, I immediately take cover. But if they already saw me, that does little to no good, as running away only makes you either look suspicious or that much easier of a target for them to hit. So an encounter with another player can be extremely tense, as you both are more than likely nervous of the other person. You do your best to not take your eyes off them as you communicate. Usually if someone does talk to you in the game, it's to ask for supplies. They might need something, whether it's food, water, or even a fire to warm them up. But for the love of God, never give someone ammo if they ask you for it. You are literally giving them the tool they need to kill you, which is more than likely going to happen anyway, as my first real complaint comes into play. DayZ was intended by design to offer intense moments of interaction with other players, as you never know their motives or desires. Unfortunately, the way things pan out in real life is rather predictable. If you see another person, assume that they will kill you. People have a tendency to play this game on a shoot-on-sight basis, meaning that rather engaging a fellow player and trying to cooperate in the harsh environments, they'd rather be playing Call of Duty and shoot you as soon as they see you, which once you die in DayZ, you lose everything. All your weapons, all your clothes, all your food, and all of your supplies, reverting you back to a bare-skinned Bambi spawning on the coastline again. DayZ has so much potential if the players would just choose not to play in such a D-baggish manner, but of course, they won't. The map in DayZ is pretty large, as traversing it can take many hours to reach one side from the other. It's loaded with towns, cities, military bases where you can find some of the best loot in the game, airfields, beaches, wrecked ships, islands, open fields, farms, and so on. The world is pretty damn impressive, with plenty of things to see and visit, and each area offers exclusive loot, meaning that if you want a flak jacket, you'll need to visit a military base. Want a single-shot rifle? Well, a town's police station is more than likely going to yield results. Want food and clothing? Go into town and loot the shops. I found that this mechanic is rather cool, since it makes you have to travel if you want a particular item. Of course, with the sheer size of Trinaris, it can become a bit of a chore to move around sometimes. Like I said before, it can take hours to reach one side from the other. But as you make your way across towns, keep a sharp eye out, as you might be able to find yourself an old military truck that is still operable. This will significantly help you travel much easier, faster, and safer, as zombies can't hurt you and any ill-willed players are forced to try to hit you through one of the windows, a challenge that is no easy feat. The controls and gameplay for DayZ is unfortunately one of the weakest points for the game. Your character controls like he's made of cast iron, sliding around on ice, making small movements almost impossible to accomplish, which can lead to you phasing through railings and guards, which results in you falling to your death most of the time. Controls are another serious issue. For instance, if you end up in a firefight where you need to draw your weapon very quickly, it can be infuriating as you mash your hotkey to equip your weapon, only for your character to ignore the input altogether, until finally, what feels like a lifetime later, he pulls out his weapon only to put it away immediately afterwards on his own. Using a melee weapon on zombies is like playing Operation while blindfolded riding a roller coaster with no restraints. Regardless of how spot on my crosshair seems to be placed on the zombie, 9 times out of 10 my weapon will whiff by its head as the zombie then decides to make me dinner. Getting stuck in animations is also a common occurrence, making you have to cancel what you're doing to try to redo it. And in some extreme cases, I've even had to log out of the server in order to be able to reset my animation, allowing me to go on with my life. My final point about the gameplay is that the performance of the game. I've been playing DayZ since it released over a year ago now. Since those early days, the performance for the game has increased quite a bit. I'm able to maintain a healthy frame rate of about 50 to 60 frames per second outside of cities. However, going into town still results in massive frame rate dips, going from 50 frames per second down to about 20 at best. And good God, if you try to drive a truck through a city, be sure to bring a glass of tea with you, possibly a book as you wait for the slideshow to pan out. All joking aside though, driving through a town can drop your frame rate to about 7 to 10 frames per second. This isn't just on my hardware either, might I add. This issue is apparent on almost all rigs and setups. I've even seen Titans brought to their knees by this game at times. This is an issue that is strictly on the game, and no amount of adjusting settings or upgrading hardware will help, I'm afraid, for the time being. However, there are plans in the future to incorporate a new engine into DayZ, which the developers say will drastically improve performance. So I'm crossing my fingers and counting the days until that arrives. Lastly today, I'd like to address the topic of support for DayZ. When the game launched in late 2013, it received a massive success. Almost everyone I knew got it and was playing. The game made millions upon millions in its first week alone. It's gone on since to make more than $60 million. After the hugely successful launch, the developers kinda fell silent though. Little to no updates to the game were made for months and months, leading myself and many others to believe that the developers pretty much took the money and ran. However, over the course of the past few months now, starting in late 2014, the devs have been making progress again, releasing updates rather frequently, adding new gear, cosmetic, mechanics, and even some minor performance upgrades. In fact, the developers now seem to be practically transparent with their map for the future of the game, releasing monthly plans and even what the team has been working on a weekly basis. A very smart move, might I add, for them to do. It really helped reassure me that they were indeed working on the game and have goals for where they want to be at certain times. Progress still feels a little bit slow, but it comes at a more frequent rate, which is pretty nice. All in all, DayZ can be quite a bit of fun, especially if you have a good friend to play with or a group. Playing solo is intense as hell, but it can result in many bad situations that you can get yourself into, so I personally recommend bringing a friend into the experience with you. The game is still a very long way away from being complete, or even solid. There are many bugs, crashes, and issues in the game, broken mechanics and features, lag and frame rate drops, harsh community, and unforgiving glitches. The game is very rough right now, but it will get better, and it is getting better with every update. If you think you'd be alright handling the issues that I've talked about here, then I encourage you to try the game out. If you feel the game just is too broken right now for you to enjoy, then I completely understand, and I doubt there'd be a person out there that could blame you for it. But at the very least, I suggest keeping this game on your radar. Visit the Steam page from time to time and check up on it to see if there's been any massive updates. The developers say they plan on hitting the beta stage in development by the end of the year, which means they're going to be kicking it into high gear to try to get there. I'm personally happy I'm along for the ride, even though the game has pissed me off more times than I could even count. it's still a unique experience to watch a game grow, especially a game like DayZ that shows so much promise and potential. I'm not going to give DayZ a score at the moment, because, like I said, the game is still in alpha, and should be given a chance to grow before any harsh ratings slap their opinions onto the game. I'll be sure to review this game again once it hits completion, or maybe even when it hits beta. But for now, I leave it up to you whether or not you think DayZ is right for you. I hope you enjoyed my review for DayZ Standalone, and if you did, please be sure to click that thumbs up button and subscribe to stay up to date with our latest videos and reviews. Well, until next time, guys.